Good morning, PAX. This is day 3 at the PAX Arena. We got Valorant all day today, so if that's your jam, come on by and see us. My name is Fickle, one more time on the pre-show for the third day here in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. I have two guests with me to kick off today's show. Starting on my far right, we have the wonderful commentator, Bear, and in the middle, we have Kyle, a representative from Spin. Bear, how are you feeling this morning?
Feeling awesome. I mean, just arrived here in the Boston area yesterday and, got the chance to spend some time in Foxborough at the Helix event, which Kyle will get into in just a bit. But excited to be here at PAX to see everybody back in action and exploring all of these great booths that are set up here in this Boston Convention Center. It's great.
And what about you, Kyle? Have you ever been to PAX before?
I've never been to PAX East, but I have been to PAX West last year, and I'm just really blown away. PAX East is awesome. It's really huge this year, a ton of people, and I'm excited to be here and be on the desk, kind of last second edition, which I love to talk about Stay Plugged In and what we're doing and what we've been doing with the Valorant portion. So I'm excited.
Well, let's jump into it. Let's talk a little bit about Valorant and Stay Plugged In, also Spin for short. Today we have the $7,500 Scholar Dollars initiative from Spin. We're playing Valorant today. It's open to any high school student and or college student with proper ID. We have our teams signed up and ready to go. We have a handful of teams waiting to participate, but we also have one team that may be invited that could be some ringers into this competition. You want to give us a little bit of an introduction to that team?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have one invited team, like you said, that came from a competition that happened last night at a local LAN center, Helix Esports in Foxborough, right close to Gillette Stadium. And basically what we did is we ran a bracket double elimination and crowned the victor as being able to qualify into today's bracket, which is super awesome. They're on the Stay Plugged In platform, a team that's looking to be recruited. We actually had 2 of them commit to a college this week. Which is absolutely awesome to hear.
Yes.
So hopefully they can kind of even sweeten that deal with some scholarship dollars to really, reduce that cost of college. And like we always say, that's exactly kind of our initiative here at Stay Plugged In, is to help facilitate those connections, see them get committed, and then also run some awesome events and be part of some awesome events like today's showcase to help them get some more scholarship dollars to reduce that cost of college.
Wonderful. Scholar Dollars, letting the parents see the initiative here. We also have Bear on my far right, who will give us a little introduction from the last time we had this event at West. What has changed with the program, and how many success stories have you been able to turn out since then?
Well, the first thing that I can tell you is that it's growing like crazy. We also introduced a new platform with Stay Plugged In, which you can check out at staypluggedin.gg. That platform is perfect, allows players and colleges to connect via messages on the website itself. We just added leaderboards as well recently, which keeps track of players' performance, but also their recruiting status and all the information that a recruiter would need, helping out not only the players but also the colleges, and make that connection that's not just one connection for a scholarship, which is all obviously really awesome, but in addition to that, you also find the right home, right? You get to talk to the recruiters themselves. Does this college make sense? Do they have the major that I am wanting to study, right? So it helps them not only in-game, but also out-game too. It's pretty cool.
And as a college graduate myself, I was just right before the collegiate esports boom hit, in my opinion. I did not have any scholarship options. I would have loved for that opportunity. Coming up through high school, even playing in your local club is just enough to meet friends and locals. I had to do it the hard way with I don't want to date myself here, but let's say some IRC chat, meeting some people way across the internet, not even in my own state, right? And it's an amazing initiative to help people just get involved and get in their communities. And it can be an amazing place to solidify your career. Even if you're not going professional, collegiate esports could be that next step for you, both to get scholarships and as a legitimate option for many students upcoming. We have a little bit of a treat coming up for you guys out in the audience. We're going to do a little bit of a show match here between our 2 teams we have on stage. That'll be coming up just a second. Let's intro the 2 players from 2Z Val before we get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 2 players we have from 2Z Val is player Harmony, who was the MVP of yesterday, clinical in every single map that he played. And then also joining him is Reese, one of the supporting players from yesterday too. Both very integral to that team's success last night.
Yeah, I think Harmony, just to kind of add to your point as well, was obviously the MVP match MVP of the grand finals. But I want to talk a little bit about Reese as well. 3 different maps were played for this team throughout the broadcast, at least what we got to see. He is honestly a true flex. Started off with Haven on Sky, then a little bit of duelist action with Jett on Ascent, and KO when they went back to Haven, and then Viper to finish things off. And he was a strong Viper, where he wasn't exactly the superstar throughout the event, but when it came to the grand finals in that last deciding map, chose Viper and absolutely killed it, and was one of the big reasons why they won as well. So just a great supporting player.
And we have stacked it in the favor of our PAX attendees. We also have some enforcers on stage, and we have some of our crew that are trying to be going against these all-stars. We have set it up as a Spike Rush 2v5, so it is heavily favored for one team, but the skill of the 2Z-Val players might reign supreme. So we have that coming up for you on the stage very shortly, and it's going to be a wonderful time. Let's talk a little bit about Spike Rush itself. So let's go over the mode and see what we can talk about there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Spike Rush. Obviously, it's a little bit different than your typical Valorant game, and the fact that all of the attackers are going to have a spike that they can plant at any site, which means you'll see them splitting up a whole bunch, especially when it's a 2v5 scenario here, right? So you're going to want to try to pick 1v1s, but with Spike Rush, obviously the attack gets all 5 of them have spikes, but what's the difference? Why do they get that advantage? They have less time to get that spike down, so you'll see a lot of a quicker play. It really gets them to amp things up, and only a few rounds as well, Fickle.
And I'd also like to mention that everybody has a spike, because that's one of the main things about Spike Rush. You never know when the plant is going to go down, because as opposed to the regular mode where there's just one person that's holding the spike, everybody gets a spike in this mode, and there's also wacky power-ups that have everything on the map. And I believe we're almost ready to get into the match. And before we do that, I want your predictions. What do we got here?
Oh, man. Already doing predictions. It's not even the competition itself, more the pregame. I love it. Honestly, the way Harmony played and Reese played, I think they actually have a shot here. Now, I haven't seen any of the PAX squad play, so maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I think I'm going to need at least a round or two to kind of decide here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one thing I will say, I'll put a prediction out there. I'm going with the team that won last night. They're hot off a win, hot off a championship. And I think even down 3 players, I think they're gonna come out on top.
All right, we are ready to get into it. But first, before we get into the match, we have a word from our sponsors.
I'm fading.
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast. Headache triggers incoming.
Intense stress. Sensory overload.
Loud noises.
You call for backup?
Excedrin fights headaches fast. Now, even the biggest headaches are toast.
Excedrin keeps your head in the game.
Or no more throbbing noggins.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Add oil for 3.5 minutes, then you can salt to taste.
How can I help?
I need more eggs.
You know, when they asked me to play on the stage here in a live Valorant showcase against 2 Immortal players, well, let me start with something different. As the stage host, I'm supposed to be the king of the jungle, the alpha male here at PAX Arena. So when they asked me to play live on stage, obviously, I said no. I don't want to do that. That sounds very scary against 2 Immortal players. I'm going to look like an idiot. And then after a long, hard look at my contract, I realized I didn't have a way out of it, and I had to play. So I manned up, and I'm here now to take on 2 Immortals ranked Valorant players with some people who work here. How's that gonna go? Poorly. But it's all for entertainment value and fun, and I can promise at least one of those things. So I'm ready to take my position in a game I have about 10 hours in to see if I can pull it off. How's everyone feeling? Good? That's a weird way of nodding your head. Let's get into it. Are you guys ready? I'm not. Let's play, friends.
Players going up on Fracture on Spike Rush. How much more chaotic can you get, Bear?
Man, it is going to be absolutely nuts. And I do want to point out that I wouldn't take this challenge either. I have a few more than 10 hours in this, but they're going to have a tough time going up against it, but it should be a whole bunch of fun. I'm super excited. As you see, Reese already off the bat getting kills. Harmony going to kind of add to that with the Headhunters. So they look really strong off the bat, and you know, it's so tough to go up against these players, especially when they do that. What a 4K to start off for Harmony.
What kind of...
And the collateral with the golden gun. Alex, how are you feeling after round one?
What kind of design for a map is that? You can just die off the zip line? Why'd they do that? I'm gonna say, can we just set a stage rule? I gotta get off the zip line. That does not seem fair. I understand that might be my fault, but it's still not fair.
Well, round one, unsurprisingly, goes over to the 2Z Val boys. I wouldn't expect it either way. Remember, you do come into Spike Rush with random guns, so we're starting off with a Bulldog here. Coming through halls, a spray transfer from Harmony. Kid2 dinks another one. He's hunting. That's a nice 3K from him out in A-halls. And that's going to be a even score line here for the 2Z Val boys.
You got to check your doors, right? All three of them just walked past like nothing was going to happen. Harmony had a great position there indoors, able to jump through and get another one, the 4K. And if I'm Reese here, I'm letting Harmony get this ace. What? It goes down again. My goodness. Follow up a 4K with an ace. He's ridiculous.
Ace already on the board for Harmony. Amazing stuff. Done it with the Bulldog. It's not even fair out there. And I tried to stack it in favor of the 5 players by putting more of the bodies in the way, but it doesn't really seem like it's helping. Alex, what do you think?
I like the gun choice this time. This is my kind of weapon. Spray and pray. It's not looking good. I didn't even see the guy who killed me last time. No, if we just sit here.
Well, Alex, I might be able to give you some hints here. It seems that Harmony has pulled out his big gun, so maybe it'll peek around the corner dry.
Okay, I'll just stay right here. This is fine. Can't kill me if they don't come over here.
I am feeling the vibes right now that the PAX Arena is just how bad are they going to get embarrassed? Or, I mean, coming in, you know, one of the players from 2Z Val is named 2Z Val, right? So they're known to troll a little bit, right? So to kind of bring that into fruition here, maybe they go a silly tactics to see how far they can cut into the PAX Arena crew and in their mentality here.
And we have one cowering PAX attendee just waiting for their chance to see if they'll push.
Okay, cowering isn't a fair description. This is tactical. I do the same thing in my apartment every night.
Well, we are getting onto the site here. Looks like the trademark is going to spot one. They are alerted to him. He's slowed down. I don't think he even knows what's going on.
This is a big win. This is a big win.
Oh, he missed the golden gun shot, pulling out the Odin. Here comes the spray, not transferred enough. Only 4 seconds left, not enough for the attacking side to plant. I wonder if we're even going to get one kill on the side of the PAX attendees, because they only got 1 round left.
Stayed alive, though. Still here. Killed that thing. We're good.
Does he know that saving is not a thing in Spike Rush? Because he was trying to run away.
I do now. I now know.
Yeah, Alex, I don't want to pressure you, but if you lose this round, it's over. And I want to see at least 1 kill from you guys' side. Can you pull that off for me?
We've been killed plenty of times. I don't know what you're talking about.
I want you to kill them. There's some mixed words in there, but now we have the attack from the 2Z Val guys. Harmony taking another one with the Headhunter.
Combined KDA of 0, by the way, for PAX Arena. I don't think I've ever said that in my life. Love that. He's tiptoeing around here through Hall. Gonna find one. Not even damage. Oh, heal in the process, rather, as he's chasing him down, trying to cut him down. Can he get him?
Oh, yeah. We got one. Let's go.
There it is.
That was all my coaching.
There we go. Round. Let's go, Alex. Let's go.
All right, I'm starting to feel better about that Vegas bet I placed.
Wow, what a turnaround from no kills to a round win. That's unreal.
Cinderella story. All part of the underdog role.
Is this the 3-0 curse / the 9-3 curse I've always heard about? Although Spike Rush not competitive, maybe we're going to see the comeback here from the greatest team on Earth, Alex. Am I right?
That's one way to describe it. Oh, I dropped my gun. That's not good. No one picked that up.
Well, now that we have Spectres on board, I don't expect this to go well for the PAX squad. They're just going to run it down through halls. The lonely Alex on site sees one. What? Oh, doesn't get the flick in time. Now it's an even matchup. 2v2. Spike's going
I hit
down
him though.
the A site.
I loosened him up.
One last kill, and it will go to 2Z Val. Trademark's going to spot him out in A spawn.
Come on. You got it. Just point and click. Game's easy.
No pressure, Tang. Curveball goes out.
Perfect.
He blinds him, but he blinds himself as well. Harmony is going to become unfazed.
Solid plan, though. Blind yourself. They'll never expect that.
Unsurprised to nobody, 2Z Val claims our Spike Rush exhibition. Round of applause to 2Z Val, everybody.
Yep.
They did it against all odds. How could they do it?
You know, like I said before we started, I thought it was going to be a sweep, and, you know, the only thing I thought it was going to be a 4-0. But it was a 4-1, so, you know, GG's to the PAX Arena folks. You know, you got one round, which was great.
And we also have our attendee on stage there shaking their head. He's like, oh, I could have done better, man. I'm going to get him next time.
No, I'm not saying that. I never said I could do better. This was the max. I hit someone with a bullet one time. That's pretty good for me. Let's hit the showers.
Honestly, I'm very impressed, Alex, that you and your team even got around, let alone a kill.
Well, me too. We're all surprised. Everyone's surprised.
Well, thanks so much for playing up on stage. We have more Valorant action coming up after this, but before we go, let's intro this segment a little more time. I know we're having a little more fun with this, and that was just a showcase, but what we have coming up later on the broadcast is going to be 5v5 competitive between any eligible high school and college student that has signed up here at PAX. They're going to be playing live on stage. They're playing in the LAN in front of us. It's going to be more intense action. We're going to have a full match link for you guys. We're playing best of ones all the way up until grand finals, which will be best of 3, and it should be a very, very competitive day. Kyle, what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm just looking forward to seeing these players really just get on stage and compete at the end of the day. You know, I had some kind of a preview last night at that tournament to qualify that one team as our invited team. So I'm just excited to see them get down and play. I know there's colleges watching. There's many eager recruits out there that are looking for that connection to take their skill set to the next level, which I'm incredibly happy to see. So it should be a great day.
And what about you, Bear? Do you think anybody out there in the PAX audience, the general attendees, are going to be able to take down 2Z Val? Because I'm pretty sure that team is all Immortal Plus. And putting together a squad here at PAX, although we are one big community, they may not be able to put together as good of a team. Do you think anybody out there is going to be able to compete?
Well, I kind of disagree with that motion because I was there in Seattle and I saw what happened at PAX West, and even the random sign-ups, as we call them, there's so much talent everywhere. And here in the Boston area, I'm looking to see who's got that talent, and you can kind of get a sneak peek as you see these PCs set up. So honestly, I think that 2Z Val has quite a great chance here, but are they going to win, Fickle? I'm not 100% convinced that they can get through all these teams. There's a lot of talent in Boston.
There is a lot of talent in Boston. If you hear my voice, come on down to the PAX Arena. We got plenty of seats for you guys to check out some competitive Valorant action. But that's it for us here on the pre-show. My name is Fickle one more time, joined by the wonderful Kyle and Bear. You'll see Bear and I on the broadcast later today doing some commentary. And Kyle has a spin panel coming up talking about Stay Plugged In and their initiative in collegiate esports and high school students. But we'll be right back after this break.
As you all know, macroeconomics is very macroeconomics. This marks the battle for push off the spring of day. Just watch. And if you stop.
Nice. Oh, hey, sorry about your girlfriend, man.
Who?
I'm fading.
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Renee Montesserin. I'm the business director for Stay Plugged In. Here with me, we've got two special guests to talk to you about the esports collegiate landscape. So we will rifle through a handful of questions that we can have a discussion, hopefully a little bit more dialogue, and leave some time for you all in the audience to ask a couple questions. We'd love to hear from you as well. We're super excited to be here. You know, obviously, just being at PAX in general, the excitement, the buzz is just fantastic. So we were thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to bring these folks up here and give you their perspective as it is from an esports director, what it's like to interact with the kids, the parents, their take on the current landscape, and for sure what they feel the future holds for collegiate esports. So I'll have the folks to my left and to my right introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Hi everyone, my name is Aaron Koliakimo. I'm the Assistant Director of Esports at Bay State College. Bay State College is located in Boston, Massachusetts. We have multiple titles in Overwatch, Rocket League, Fortnite, League of Legends, and several more games.
Hi everyone, my name is Timothy Fowler. I'm the Director of Esports at Southern New Hampshire University. We're located in Manchester, New Hampshire, and similarly, same list of games generally.
All right, excellent. I guess the first question, obviously you and your students are super passionate about video games, competitive play, and esports in general. What makes this so important to you and to your students? Parents in the audience can kind of understand why you're so passionate about it.
I think generally the sense of community and kind of togetherness that we get from kind of bringing this passion together into collegiate esports. I know myself growing up loving video games, the majority of what we did was solo and at home. We played a lot of single player games, and over the course of time did kind of get the internet because I am old. But now you can see large gatherings such as PAX and arenas on campuses kind of throughout the country where students are able to come together and really get a great community, build a great community, and get that teamwork aspect that we all kind of strive for.
Great. You want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about esports is it gives kids who, have that burning passion for competition, it gives them a area for them to express themselves, right? Just like you would have in traditional athletics, right? I wasn't a traditional athlete in high school. I played on like the chess team. I was in band, right? So, you have to find those extracurricular activities that are going to be viable for those students. And so giving them those opportunities is more than important to, build them into proper adults.
Excellent. Those are two good points. And as a parent who was a traditional sport kid growing up, I was not a gamer. My kids were gamers. They love to play. They're traditional sport athletes today. I can tell you in their downtime, what they do with their teammates and to socialize is gaming. And so that is a sense of community that certainly I've recognized as a parent. And knowing that more colleges seem to be moving towards creating these esports spaces, not just for their esport athletes, but for the community in general. And I think that's something that's been very positive. Can you elaborate on that as far as the rest of the students that have embraced the esports teams? Do you feel that the community goes beyond just the esport athletes?
Yeah, so in particular, we opened our arena this fall of this year, which was really exciting for us. We now kind of have a home on campus. And we see not only our varsity players come in to support all of the other teams that are playing, but all of the other people on campus, students on campus. We make sure that our arena is open every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Any student on campus has access to come in and play on the computers. We want to make sure that access was open for everyone and it was inviting for everybody to be able to do that.
Excellent.
We've really seen them adopt that and be part of the community. It's been great.
That's great.
And for us, one of the great things that we've started to see is that a lot of students are coming in for production. They're coming in for graphic design. They're coming in for marketing. They're coming in for a lot of different aspects that are periphery to esports, right? So it's not only about engaging those students that are going to be at that highest level of competition, it's about engaging those students who are going to be part of the club teams, the students that are going to be part of kind of the back end business with esports too.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And what we've seen, especially with our participation in running some of the high school events, talking to the high school esports directors, they're spread thin, right? The teachers basically a lot of them are just poked on the shoulder and said, we need you to do this. And teachers, being as great as they are, typically will volunteer and say, yeah, I'm all in for this. And if you happen to get someone who's passionate about gaming, you're that much further along. However, one thing that we've noticed with the more successful schools that have gotten these programs off the ground, to your point, the students will be involved in the program. They own the program, right? They're helping with the production, they're helping with the streaming, they're taking the videos, they're editing the videos, and so it's kind of one of those areas where parents I don't think, recognize how much involvement these students have. It's not just about gameplay, right? Like, there's a lot more that goes into it. So perhaps you can elaborate kind of what that typical day looks like for these students that might have more of a role than just gameplay.
Sure. Today, actually, our Valorant team is going to be playing in the Valorant tournament here at PAX, and we've brought one of our social media specialists with us. So the entirety of our production, from graphics to the front-facing social media, is all done by our students. So we have just over 20 students in work study doing graphic design, video production, doing broadcast technicians for our Twitch page. So students really have a lot of opportunities, not only with internships, but also in work study, to get involved, learn some really cool technical skills, and not necessarily just be somebody focused on playing the games.
Got it. Excellent.
Yep, and kind of looking at from the competition space, these kids are going through a regular practice schedule that you would see from a lot of traditional sports. I know our League of Legends team, if they're not having a game, they're usually scrimming, anywhere between 4 to 6 hours a night, Monday through Friday, right? And then, even today, the CLL National Championships for the top 32 starts today. And, we're playing in that as well. So they're kind of just building up to all of these big tournaments and trying to work in these areas. So it takes a lot of heart. It takes a lot of time. And, we try and make sure that our students know those time management and time organization skills and try and build upon them.
Excellent. That kind of leads me to my next question is, what formal support system do these students have to make sure that they're able to manage, the time constraints of, training, gameplay, matches, etc., to make sure that, their studies are not suffering from the number of hours that folks are having to put in?
Yep. So for a lot of programs out there right now, they're still in those building phases, and just to everyone out there, like, they will get better. Right? Everything is going to start building upon it. I know Tim and I, we're quite fortunate. We were actually talking about this before we got up on stage, where we both have multiple coaches. We have analysts. We have student managers. They're going to all be in charge of the scheduling. They're going to be in charge of making sure that, the team is getting where they need to be on time, and they're going to be, responsible for the practices. My role as a director is to make sure that the students are, going to class, right? They're passing their classes. And if they're not, then we have to get them in touch with our campus tutors, our campus help. If we have students that have issues with mental health, right, we have counselors on campus that they can go to, talk to, and, help them work out.
Great, that's great to hear. I think that's reassuring for a lot of parents, especially, and just in general, when you send your students off to college, whether they're a traditional sport athlete or just a regular student that's going to be engaged in clubs, or an esport athlete, you want to make sure that they're supported, that they're going to have that community that can pick them up when they need it. And certainly, as parents have had anybody that's gone through high school or college, that there's going to be some adversity. And it's great to see that, you all are recognizing that, especially on the mental health side, which we know in general is a big issue, not just for esport athletes, but in general. So I applaud you all for making sure that that is a priority. So if I look at high school students today, obviously you can see the talent level when they compete, but that's not everything that goes into what makes a successful esport athlete, right? So besides gameplay, what would you say are some of the additional skill sets that you're looking for in a potential recruit?
One of the big ones for me is just kind of mindset of growth and learning. So historically, I used to play StarCraft 2, for example. That was like one of my favorite games when I played competitively. And instead of playing a game session of 3 or 4 hours and not going back and taking a look at all of your videos and VODs and learning from them, after every game, taking a break, knowing how to learn, knowing how to accept that what they might have made an improper play, or that they aren't necessarily just dealing with luck, and really taking responsibility for what might have happened in a game. So really taking that learning mindset forward, knowing that they can fail, they will fail, and to move forward from it and to learn from it.
Gotcha. And that seems to be something that we've seen in these competitions as these esports athletes. I mean, it's win or bust. They really have that mentality sometimes that if they don't win, that it is complete failure. And it's important to remind them that it's okay to fail and it's necessary to succeed, right? You have to be able to go back and reassess, how you performed, what you could have done differently. Have accountability for your own actions, but know that your teammates are also part of the ride, and that everyone's responsible. So, I think that's one thing as a parent who learned about esports a little bit later in life. I think lots of parents don't recognize the amount of preparation that goes into preparing for matches, and then assessing and reassessing gameplay and how performances went to use that moving forward. So it seems like that is a very big chunk of the time, correct?
Yeah, we do. Our teams, obviously, we spend a lot of time in scrimmages, but we spend almost an equal amount of time in VOD review, all together, preparing strategies, learning from past games, making sure that all together everybody is in sync and knows what to do moving forward.
Got it. Yeah, it's very, very parallel to the traditional sports side as far as athletes, right? Preparing for another team and going through their scout report and knowing what they do well and checking out past performances, right? So it seems very similar in that regard.
And even to kind of add to that too, what we're already kind of seeing is esports has been in a crossroads for a while where there's only been a big space for that top level competition. Now what we're starting to see is that there's divisional structures that are coming in, and more schools are going to kind of decide, okay, where do we kind of fit in this puzzle? Am I looking for the Radiant, the Challenger, the GM top 500s in my specific game, or am I going to compete at more of a D2, D3 level where I'm looking more for like those diamond players? So it's not just about like that total level of skill, it's about those leadership skills that you're going to be able to bring in, and if you're going to be willing to kind of compete for those.
Great, those are great points. Appreciate that. So I think for the parents, and I'll speak for myself again, someone that learned about esports over the past few years. I was not a traditional gamer. I liked some video games, but that wasn't my thing, right? But I absolutely support and recognize the skill set of a gamer. I've seen it in my kids, and so I support it. For parents that don't know much about the esports space, right, that is a big struggle. On a traditional sports side, it feels like it's very easy for parents and their children to be aligned when they're bringing them to soccer or baseball or basketball. But on the esports side, when an esport athlete is asking their parents to bring them to a showcase to compete, their mind is blown a lot of times, right? The initial reaction is like, what are we talking about here? So how can parents become more familiar with the esports space and what's out there? Like any suggestions or advice for folks to be able to learn a little bit more? Because what I've seen in person is when parents in particular come to an event and watch their kids interact and compete, they have a much better appreciation for it, and the connection between their child and that parent, it seems like the relationship is a little bit different moving forward. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, coming to events like this and hearing us talk about it, I think is a great step. But I think separately from that too, even if you're not necessarily incredibly into video games personally as a parent, recognizing that your child might have a huge passion for something like this is really important, and supporting it and learning about it as much as you can. Might not necessarily need to play and be very good at a game like Valorant, for example, but if you can understand it, maybe watch the pro scene with them and learn that way, really help kind of get an understanding and help your son or daughter.
Yeah, it's going to really just come down to talking to your kid, right? That's how my mom learned when I was big in League of Legends, right? And, working, and I played on my college team as well. So, that's how she learned, is just explaining to her all the champions I liked and the characters I played and how the game was played. And, helping her explain that kind of gave me more of a sense and a love for the game itself. As well as like Super Smash Brothers is one of the big games that I play too. So just being able to talk to them and just getting to know, okay, like, what is this? Why do you like this character? What do you like about this game? And just asking them really simple questions goes a long way. Excellent.
Appreciate those thoughts. So we do have a few more questions that we can rip through here, but I'd like to kind of pause here and see if there's any questions for the group up on stage. Any parents have any questions that you'd like to ask players? Sure. Can we get a microphone out to someone here? Perfect.
Hi, I had a quick question. So I know you guys touched on mental health a little bit. I wanted to know what are your thoughts and opinions, because I know the drive to win can be pretty extreme, and I also know that a lot of players at the esports level do have ADHD or ADD. But how do you kind of deal with like Adderall or like performance enhancing drugs in esports? What are your opinions and thoughts on that?
I'll look to my left and right for that question. I'm not sure if that's within your realm. If not, certainly we can come back to you and try to follow up, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, substances are always going to be frowned upon with any sort of competitive realm. So just trying to work with the students and understanding where their backgrounds are coming from is really important to us. One of the things that Bay State has done is we're actually working with a sports psychologist, so someone who has actually been working, originally was looking for traditional sports and has moved more into this realm. And just talking with them, they've actually started to learn more and more about the space and trying to just, better help them, right? You're in a competitive environment. You're always going to be in that type of competitive environment, and substances are never going to be the answer. So just finding other outlets that's going to help the kids deal with any sort of issues that they're going to be developing.
Finding ways to recognize any sort of substance abuse is really important, and making sure that mental health is not taboo and can be spoken about kind of freely within the program is really helpful. And then working with the wellness center on campus, getting an understanding from them what they think is the best course of action, I think is probably the best way to go about that.
Very good. That's a great question.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm okay. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm interested in the transition from high school to college. The idea that, for instance, my son who games, gets random emails from people saying, "Oh, we want you." It seems like, in some ways, it's like traditional athletics that you get a call or you get an email saying, "We'd like you to take a look at us." But it's also a little bit different because it seems sort of random the way that you're contacted. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that transition from high school to college, how that process works as it relates to this, so that I can and others maybe understand better how this is different and the same? Thank you.
Did you guys follow that question?
Yep. I think probably one of the biggest differences, while they are really similar when it comes to recruiting, one of the biggest differences is everybody has a rank and is ranked kind of nationally in the game's ranking system, and separately a lot of young people are not only participating in tournaments online, but their tournaments are getting streamed, so there is just game tape available online. So while it might seem fairly random that somebody might be outreach, there's probably good reason for it, and scouting has been done at some of those high school events. Here, you want to talk about the recruitment process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, even one of the recruitment process that I had, and it's like really simple, but I would actually just message people on Ladder, which is, the ranking system that Tim was just talking about, where if I get put into a game with you and I'm playing one of the games that I can play at a high level, sometimes it's just reaching out and getting that initial message. Right now, we're kind of in a weird standstill, or a weird kind of crossroads again, where it's difficult for us to find the parents' contacts. It's difficult to find an administrator's contact at a high school so that we can actually have that conversation, adult to adult. So a lot of directors, we're reaching out on Discord, right, and just starting to have that conversation and reaching out on other social media apps and starting those conversation pieces. It will get better as more programs like Spin and eFuse and all of these other online outlets as they kind of progress. But right now, that's just the realm of where we at.
Yeah, and I can piggyback just a little bit off that from just the traditional sports side. If you think about, taking your kid, who might participate in a travel team or club team, there's showcase events that those student athletes participate in, right? And college coaches will go watch them play, whether it's soccer, basketball, AAU basketball, baseball. And there's also one-off events that colleges will run on the traditional sports side, correct? Just ID camps where these particular students, these elite students that want to get additional exposure that perhaps they're not getting through their club teams, can actually go and sign up. So that exists on the esports side as well. So, for individuals that are getting contact just by, kind of random gameplay, that's one way to be contacted. Reaching out to esports directors that have programs is also a good way to do that. Participating in showcases, there's a few different outfits, obviously, that run showcases. We do that as well. And, we invite colleges to come watch them in person. And I'll ask the question here because I think during COVID, obviously, what was a positive was that esports athletes were able to continue to play and compete. And so they really didn't suffer on their skill set, right? Whereas many traditional sport athletes had seasons cut short and just weren't able to train or do anything. But I will say that for the events that are held in person, I'd love to hear your perspective on how much more you can gather from someone watching them in person versus watching them on a stream.
Yeah, so on stream you're really only seeing in-game, so you're getting a really solid understanding of their skill set, but you're not necessarily seeing how they are reacting to the way that things are happening. If at the end of a round they've died, they're slamming their table and yelling at their teammates, or they are kind of taking it in stride and being positive. I think that's probably one of the biggest differences to see immediately. And then separately from that, you can also really get an understanding of focus and kind of what their preparation looks like, if they have some ritual that they put together for actually setting up all their equipment, and different ways to do so. So there are two that are just like very immediately apparent in person.
Yeah, and when you bring a student into an in-person event, there's going to be kind of an even playing field. They're all on the same network. They're all on the same ping, right? So you're not going to have these issues of if a student is from the West Coast and they're playing against people on the East Coast, right? In a lot of the FPS games, we see that with like server issues. So bringing them to that LAN event, you can kind of really sit down and be like, okay, in a similar environment with similar equipment, how are these students going to perform? And on top of that too, going with like the setup and everything, we've had students before where they come onto campus and they start playing worse. And we try to accommodate that with, okay, what did you have at home that you're not necessarily experiencing here? If it's, a broken chair or anything like that, that, they're sitting crooked at their place at home and now they're sitting upright. We try to accommodate that as best as we can. We did have that happen, so.
Got it. What, I would say generally, what other watch-outs do you have for high school students that you're recruiting? Kids that may not have participated a lot in person just because of the circumstances that we're in as far as the pandemic. Do you have any words of wisdom as far as biggest things that they would need to adjust to be able to move from a high school, just maybe a casual player, competitive but casual, to now you're competing on an actual team?
For me, I want to focus on kind of out-of-game stuff from a high schooler that we're looking at. So like coming prepared and talking to us about what they want to major in and where they want to go in life. Really having an understanding, knowing whether or not we teach that program that they're interested in, as opposed to coming in and saying, hello, I am immortal in Valorant and I would like you to give me a scholarship.
Right.
Really coming prepared, being focused on school and their degree, and letting us know that they are as prepared as we are to help them get that.
Got it. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, we do see that a lot, where we do get a lot of messages, hey, I'm in the top of my rank for my particular game, looking for an esports scholarship. That's not necessarily the best approach. You also have esports where it's interesting that you have a lot of people who can be 16 and 17 and just go directly to the professional scene and just completely circumvent the collegiate scene. So collegiate has, again, kind of developed into that like tier 2, kind of tier 3 competition, and that's where we continue to see it develop.
Yeah. Any other questions in the audience?
Hi, I'm from a college where I worked with the esports program for a long time. I was a coach and a manager. It was established program, but it was fully student run. I was curious if the programs you guys worked out at started off as student run, and if they did, what were the initial steps you guys might have taken to get it recognized and supported by the school?
Mine was, and our Valorant coach, who is here today, was the student that was running it, which was really great. I had experience in esports when I was in college. I founded a competitive gaming team because it was before it was called esports. Like I said, I'm old. But our students were actively within the gaming club participating in esports. And they had JV teams for League of Legends, and I came in and started to volunteer coach for the League of Legends team as a staff member. From there, we built a program plan And we were really lucky in that the school was 100% on board. We thought that we were going to need to go to the school and say, this is why we should start a collegiate esports program. And they said, we agree with you. Can you tell us how to start a collegiate esports program? So really having everything prepared ahead of time, knowing what that structure will look like ahead of time is really, really helpful. And to some extent, getting lucky that the administration is interested and on board.
That's great.
Yeah, for us, we actually pretty much just started out with having, bringing in talent that's going to be in charge of the program. However, the first team that we started with was the students that we had on campus. Then we were able to go, okay, look at the success that we've had with this program. Let's start developing it. Let's start actively recruiting students. Let's start, bringing in coaches, etc. My first program, I started as a student, though. So, we've definitely seen all different kinds of sides. There's over 400 colleges at this point that have some semblance of an esports program, and they're all in different phases.
Do you have any students that you recruited just simply to be a caster or be part of the production that don't compete in gameplay?
We don't have any specifically that were recruited for it, but I know that even the incoming freshmen that have been touring with us, doing admissions days, are already interested in those positions. We're in the process of working on putting together something like an experiential scholarship that is kind of separate from an athletic scholarship that would be specifically to play on the esports team.
That's excellent. And we've heard a couple of instances of high schools that have had kids that are part of the program that are, they're into gaming, but they know that they're not going to be able to reach that level of actual competitiveness at the collegiate level, but are very, very strong at casting and want to be in the esports space as a career. So that's encouraging to hear.
Yeah, we've recruited multiple students to be graphic designers. We've had interns work at the college as well. So we've been able to bring in a lot of talent to kind of help us. One of the other things to kind of mention is managers. We do have some students that are on campus as managers, and they've been recruited as managers for their particular game. Either they've worked in the tier 2 scene, tier 1 scene, whatever it might be, worked with other organizations, and they have that experience kind of managing some sort of organization.
Excellent.
Hi. Hi, how are you? My name is Russell. I don't know if they can hear me. Hi, my name is Russell. I have a question about legitimacy of large-scale organizations around esports. So in 2019, the NCAA decided they didn't want to touch esports. And we have groups like NSCA, NACE, etc. Where do you see the future and legitimacy of organizations, governing bodies, etc. around esports?
For me, I think that we look a lot to the developer-run leagues to really give us solid understanding of how things should be enforced and what eligibility looks like. And then, kind of separately from that, we can also mirror the requirements of NCAA in some cases. So regardless of what league we are playing in, if we have minimum GPA requirements and progress towards degree requirements, schools can handle that on an individual basis. But I really look to developers to be involved in the leagues that are being run and to hold a lot of those eligibility criteria in their leagues.
It's a great question, too, and I kind of wanted to piggyback off of that, but we'll let Aaron kind of chime in on that first.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of leagues that are just kind of out there. There's NACE, NECC, ECAC. There's the traditional athletic conference ones. Big East has a sponsor, or has their own conference that they do League of Legends, Rocket League, a couple of other games. The NAIA is directly involved with NACE, which is a direct competitor for the NCAA. So we have kind of, started to look at NACE and be like, okay, what is their role? Even though NACE has already kind of said that they're not going to be a governing body within esports. So again, right now, it's unknown, but I know that a lot of these players are developing and trying to push into that realm of, okay, what's going to look like a governing body? What's going to happen in terms of the investment?
How quickly do you think that transitions? Is that something that you see changing vastly in the next 1 to 2 years? Is this more of a 3 to 5 year development?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think probably as soon as it becomes readily apparent that the rules are being broken on a wide scale stage, which I don't necessarily know is the case yet, but I think that if it does and the system is being abused, then something will come in to say, we need some regulation here. We need to all get together and figure it out.
I think right now we have a unique issue where in sports, no one owns basketball, no one owns soccer, no one owns football, but Riot Games owns League of Legends and Valorant. So you typically have to go through Riot Games. Riot Games does have a governing body. It's the RSAA, right? So all of their games do have to go through them. You have to get approval. You know, they do have really stringent approval and everything in a process around that. Blizzard has their own leagues as well, and Epic Games is starting to get into their own leagues. So we might actually see that there's going to be multiple bodies, and it'll just kind of depend on the particular game, and that's going to be the governing body for that game.
Great. Thanks for that, guys. I think we might have additional question here.
Hey, I was just wondering, you know, if you follow traditional sports and the recruiting timelines and national signing days, do you guys see the recruiting process for college esports, that timeline moving to the left? You know, as I've talked to Aaron over the last couple months, you know, most kids want to be committed, decision made by this point, but esports seems to be a little later on. So do you see that timeline moving to the left over the next couple years so that kids can make decisions earlier, do visits and so forth?
You want to take that?
I think so. Really, with the maturity of the industry in collegiate, I think that will come. I think the reason currently why that isn't the case is because some programs are running with one person behind it, running the entire thing. So they're really trying to finish up a season or multiple seasons and multiple games on their own, and then the end of the semester hits and they think, I should recruit for fall. But I think as programs start to grow and have a lot more people invested in them, like mine and Aaron's has, you can be focused on that recruiting far ahead of time.
And to kind of piggyback off of that too, a lot of the programs right now, they're running on lower budgets, especially lower travel budgets. Esports has typically been, you know, shown as okay, we can stay on campus. It's not going to cost us an arm and a leg to try and travel everywhere that we need to go. However, we have started to see a lot more of these signing days and signing bonuses. You know, I always see them on Twitter for a lot of the programs. Most of the time, those are the ones that are in-state. So we're already kind of seeing that just kind of develop within the scene. It's going to get better just as time moves forward. I know that, you know, we have kind of those plans for next year is to actually have like signing days for the New England area. And so we're just kind of waiting now and seeing where that's going to develop.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too has to do with a lot of colleges are just starting programs and they're starting them very quickly, right? The athletic department might come to their esports director and says, you know what, we've got approval to start a team and go have at it. And, you know, it's January, February, and now they're scrambling late in the cycle to try to get kids. So that's why I think that's also pushing that to, you know, that April, May timeline. I think over time, as these two have alluded, it will probably become more like traditional sports where they'll be recruiting so much further in advance that they'll have a pipeline of underclassmen that they're probably already reaching out to on top of that. Right now, I don't think we're quite there yet, unless you have an underclassman probably that's, you know, at an extremely high level. But the urgency right now, it seems, from my perspective, is that you're trying to recruit hard for the upcoming season, and you're looking at, you know, graduating seniors versus that underclassman. But I think that landscape will shift as more programs become established and more and they mature. I know, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Another thing too, kind of caveat to esports is that metas can change. So like, we're talking back to skill earlier and what we're looking for when we talk to high school students and people who are trying out is making sure that they're a well-rounded player and that they really understand kind of the structures of the game, not necessarily just a microcosm of the game. That way, if we are recruiting for 8 months to a year in the future, we know that they are going to be solid players in all of those metas, all of those scenarios.
Excellent. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, great. Excellent questions. I appreciate the participation. It's fantastic to hear and learn from each other, right? So it's encouraged. If you think of another question, feel free to raise your hand. I guess as we look forward, obviously with anything that, you know, you're involved with, there's always ways to improve on things. What do you see are some of the biggest things that esports could do better, or you all could do better for the community to help kind of students have a better experience with this?
One thing that I've been working on is just high school integrations and working with high schools in the local areas, because in a lot of cases, like you said, the teacher is told, hi, we'd like to start esports. You are into gaming. You now run this. And they don't necessarily have the time or the resources at the schools to be able to do those. So connecting them with PC providers and giving them the structure that they need to really understand it, and then helping them with oversight. One of the things that we've been trying to do, in addition to helping high schools understand esports and how to set it up, is to get our collegiate players in the high schools to help teach them and to coach in some cases. So it gets our students experience doing so, and it gets the high schools the support that they need to kind of get ready and participate.
No, that's great. I think that the high school students can certainly learn a lot from just watching that interaction. I've had experience from talking to a couple of high schools that have some interaction with local colleges. They're club teams, but their players have the ability to interact and play with players that are competing at least on the club level. And their esports coaches speak super highly of the experience. They come back, they're always getting something out of it, and it gives them something to think about as they're looking into their own future at the collegiate space. So.
Yeah, and kind of talking about the pre-college phase, then it's also looking at that post-college phase. So finding these students, a pipeline into the professional scene, into the tier 2 scene, right? Helping them get those internships that are going to help them build those types of professional relationships so that once they finish and they graduate with their degree, they're kind of set up into a job or a space in an area that they're interested in working in. So just trying to make sure that, not only are you kind of helping that high school student come into the school, but even after they've gone through the program, gone through the school, they're kind of set for the rest of their lives.
Okay, and that kind of leads me to one of my final thoughts here. So as a traditional sport kid, it was a dream of mine to play professional basketball. Then it was to play professional baseball, and then it was to play professional basketball again. And that was probably all within a 1 week time span, right? Was able to play in college, recognized quickly that at the collegiate level, even that was a stretch for me, and that playing professionally was not something that was going to happen. In the esports world, we see these kids a lot of times, they have visions of playing professionally, and many of them can achieve that. And then like many traditional sport athletes, some of them may fall short of that, right? And so being able to compete and participate at the collegiate level gives them that experience. But for kids that may not be able to compete at that higher level and want to stay in the esports space, can you give some guidance to parents and to let them know the opportunities that exist in the esports space as far as potential future careers?
I think a lot of these secondary roles that we've been talking about, there are opportunities for in esports. Finding professional organization, understanding that they need social media people, they need lawyers, they need across the gamut of skill sets, they need those people to be working in their industry. So if they're not necessarily focused on becoming a professional becoming a professional player, for example, focusing on those skills and talking to those people in the industry that way.
Excellent. Aaron, you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about, bringing students in as production students, graphic design students, right? Those skills are not just for college. They're going to transfer into that professional scene, into any other kind of job that they're going to be interested in. But pretty much anything that your student is going to be interested in, they're going to find that they can kind of equate that into the esports space. Lawyers, as you mentioned too, but the medical field, right? All right, like carpal tunnel, sports psychology, we've kind of already hit on those particular points. So I mean, it just really comes down to them getting involved within that space, learning a little bit about it, and then when they graduate, they're going to have the progression into their regular adult lives.
Excellent. I'll pause one more time to see if anybody else has any further questions in the audience. All right, thank you, everybody. Any final parting words for folks, either parents or students, giving them a little bit of guidance as to how they navigate the next couple of years from the high school perspective as they look to transition to the collegiate level?
Don't be afraid to reach out, just directly to anybody. We have public Discord servers for our programs. We have Twitch pages. Reach out, talk to the people that are there, learn what their community is like, reach out to the directors, learn what their community is like, become a part of it. You can do so even before, matriculating into college.
Great advice.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years ago, we kind of look at the space, and there were no scholarships. There were no esports arenas, or sorry, actually 5 years ago, we kind of started to see some scholarships out. Now, it's an expectation that there's an arena. It's an expectation that there's going to be someone in charge of these programs. So within the next 5 years, who knows what this space is going to actually look like. You probably will see more of a formal pipeline. You're going to see more of this formal marketing. And so, for the graduating seniors this year, just reach out as we kind of mentioned, and just try and be that change in the space that you want to see.
Great advice. Well, I thank you both for sharing your time today, sharing your perspective, especially with the parents here. I'm sure many of them have been eager to kind of hear from esports directors, because as their students get closer and closer to making that decision, I'm sure they've had lots of questions about whether or not this is something that's viable, whether it's something that's healthy, whether it's something that can take them into a good spot for them down the line in the future. So again, thank you so much for your time. I think that's it for us, folks.